Hi everyone, it's Mangaminx here. I hope you're doing well today. Today, myself and Luetin are going to be talking on the subject of digital games versus hard copies of games. And we're going to be discussing why we have differing opinions on this. And a lot of you are probably going to hate me by the end of this video about the things I'm about to say, but we'll see how it goes, won't we, Luetin?
Indeed. I'm kind of just interested about this idea generally because I've had a lot of difficulty getting some games recently, and I feel things are going in the direction of digital. Now, I've done videos talking about this before where we looked at length about the different issues that are involved there, and you know, going digital can in some ways be viewed as being a good thing, and especially consoles and stuff are kind of leaning towards that. They're moving in that direction. I just feel there's something quite nice about actually having a hard copy, and I guess maybe I'm just being a little bit old school about it, but I like having a game. I like being able to put it in the drive, and I like being able to give it to friends. Now, it's got to be said that with some of the new consoles, this whole kind of just handing it to a friend thing might be a thing of the past. We might already have reached the point of already going all digital. Now, it's got to be said, I don't fully hate digital downloads. I have games on my PlayStation that I've downloaded from the store and nowhere else, but I don't know, I just feel like being able to go and get your games is a great thing, and actually being able to have them there, you see your collection, you got it, it's really good. And I guess like the fear factor of losing your games, and I know there's sort of cloud, so you can and we've talked before about how you can back stuff up in terms of like it keeps a list of what you've downloaded and then you can just download it again. But there's other things involved, which is that, you know, if it goes all digital, then the game companies can end up kind of having a monopoly because there's nowhere else to sell these things. So then they can just say, well, this is the only place you can download it, and it's going to be X price. And if you don't like it, you just don't have to buy the game. And, you know, they don't have to drop the price, you know, they don't have to do anything with it. And you can already see, if you look at like PlayStation Store right now, and all these kind of things, and Xbox Live as well, the games are often, you know, an extra £10, an extra $15 more than they would be in the store, just at initial sale point, not even after that point. And I know that online sales as well do some discounts, but I don't know. I just like to be able to go and see my copy, pick it up, and have it right there. I just love that fact, you know.
I can understand where you're coming from, and I'll give my view. I feel that consoles, in terms of their digital download, have still got it completely all wrong. They really have got it wrong. There needs to be severe tweaks to the system for the PlayStation Network, for Xbox Live, for Nintendo's store. Nintendo in particular are guilty of pulling some right shit, actually. And, you know, you have to... I'm going to be a proper Valve fangirl here, because I am a bit of a Valve fangirl, and I'm going to say that Steam is the thing that everyone should look up to in terms of making a digital store that works. Now, a lot of people can criticize Steam. It does have an unfair monopoly, that's for sure and certain. It really does. It does have DRM built into it, which I'm not entirely happy about, but there are clauses in Steam which mean that it's nowhere near as bad as like an always on DRM, always online thing, because you can play your games offline and things like that. And I feel that I feel that Steam just gets it right in so many ways, and to a lesser extent, things like GOG.com does as well, and other PC sites. I feel that on the PC, digital downloads have been fixed and fine-tuned, but consoles still need to grow up in terms of this, and they need to realize certain things. They need to realize that if you buy things on PlayStation Network, Xbox Live and stuff, it needs to transfer to the next console. I cannot tell you how pissed off I was that my Xbox Live games on the arcade, because I have quite a lot of Xbox Live arcade games, are not going to transfer to the Xbox One. That is such bullshit. It's digital. I should still own it. It's ridiculous. And from what I hear, PlayStation probably just as guilty of that as well. I think on that front too, not being able to transfer between consoles.
Yeah, it is really frustrating. It's got to be said, and I don't know, it really does wind me up. I mean, the whole kind of compatibility issue there. But I mean, to be honest, you've got to remember that a lot of previous consoles and stuff, I mean, I've talked about this issue of backwards compatibility in general, and the trouble is that the new consoles, the architecture is changing so fundamentally that it's literally a case of they wouldn't really probably be able to sort of function that. Seems kind of hard to believe, but it's to do with the real core way that they're running. So for that reason, I don't think they can do it. But Then again, you know, when I went from N64 to the GameCube, I couldn't play any of those games that I had, and so on and so on. But we're just kind of, I think it's like an endemic thing that basically when things upgrade in gaming, you kind of have to accept, oh, here's another console that I'm adding to the pile if I need to break it out to play things with, because I've got like quite a few consoles here for doing all my old school gaming, etc. And I don't know, I mean, that is frustrating. It'd be fantastic. But then, okay, there are sort of companies that look at this. I mean, in proper retro games anyway. There's a company called Hyperkin, and they're bringing out this product called the Retron 5, and you're going to have, it has like multiple slots for all different cartridges in, and you can even put Game Boy carts in the front as well, and then it has like ports along the side for all your different controller inputs for each system, or you can use their default one that comes with it as well, which will play all the systems. It upscales, it's got HDMI, so I'm kind of excited about this product, but it means that you can kind of play all that stuff on there. But again, you know, that's an aside, but it just shows that, you know, they over time they look at this issue of, okay, we want one system to play it all on. But I think like in the first case, when you're moving up from like PlayStation 3 to 4, or from the Xbox side as well, yeah, you know, you're not gonna be able to play these things. But I've said like, well, you know, you probably won't care, because like when the new stuff comes out, you'll be so into like new games, must play. You'll kind of forget those things. And if you want to, you can go back to it. Not ideal, and I guess, you know, for sure it is something that PC definitely has an advantage over there. But again, it's just a different system, different setup, and it's just kind of the console thing. It's always been this way. It's not going to really change for the time being. And if it did get to a point where it was able to do that, well, basically you'd just be playing on PCs. Which
this is what's going to annoy me the most, though. This is what's going to annoy me more than all of this. I'm not necessarily talking about backwards compatibility. This is what I bet you that every single PlayStation 3 title and every single PlayStation 2 title of any worth will be re-released on the PlayStation 4 store for more money again. Yeah. That's the problem. Your excuse would hold, your reasoning would hold water if that wasn't the case.
It's always economic with you, dude. Like, come on, just
it's true. Like,
feel the gaming love.
You can't say oh, we're not having backwards compatibility, then re-release the same fucking games again on a different system anyway.
It's true.
And especially when it comes to digital downloads. I can understand it somewhat when it comes to the hard copies of games, okay? Especially when we had the format from cartridge to CD changes and all that kind of stuff. I do get it.
Yeah.
But when it comes to digital downloads on Xbox Live and stuff, I feel there is no fucking excuse for them to, because they're going to just release these games again. They really are. I bet you, like, you'll be able to buy Fable 1, 2, and 3 or something on the Xbox One.
They'll release it as a pack. They'll release it as a pack, yeah, you know, like Jack and Daxter.
And Gears of War, they'll all be on there. Like, everything will be like a collect. They'll be like, and you'll be expected, if you want to play it again, to pay out for it again. But in some instances now, for a third or fourth time when it comes to PlayStation.
Yeah, that is a kind of slap in the face. I mean, also they haven't. I don't know if they said on PlayStation 3 you can play PS1 games. I don't know if they've said about that with the PlayStation 4. So I'm kind of curious as to what is actually going to play on it. I always liked the fact I wasn't too bothered about PlayStation 2 titles. It would have been nice, but I wasn't that fussed about it. But PlayStation 1 games, it was nice. But looking as well at like some of the content that they actually put up for on I can only speak for PlayStation, but on the store there, and they go through like the PS1 titles you can download, and even some other stuff that's like arcade things, you know, they've got like Neo Geo and stuff like this, and the titles that they choose, it's like, dude, you picked all the shit games, like they're just like the worst stuff, like really bad stuff. And it's like there's so many awesome games that they don't have on there. And I don't know if it's just licensing stuff or whatever it is, but it's so agonizing. One of my favourite games that's on there is Super Hang-On, which is a Sega Mega Drive game, Sega Genesis if you're in the US. And it's such an awesome game. I've been doing it as a playthrough on this channel, and it's been going on and on because it's nightmarishly difficult. But it just made me think, you know, I love retro games. I love sort of these old style games. And, you know, one thing that's great is the Mega Drive collection. And I don't know if you've seen that, and it's like you can pick it up as a PS3 game, and it has like all remastered, all things all on one game. Now that's pretty awesome, and it's pretty awesome to be able to have that on a disc rather than, I know you could probably do it. You could do all games as a digital package, and you know, there is something to be said for it. But I don't know, I love having my games, like, you know, that's what it's about. Like I just feel like, you know, if we start going more and more towards this full digital thing, I don't know. I think something gets lost there. There's something that's like the essence of gaming gets lost there, and it's like, I don't know. I don't like it. I want to be able to sort of have my games and be able to share them with friends or people come over. And again, the sharing with friends thing, like, it sucks that you can't do that with the Xbox. It sucks. People try to make out like it's not a big deal. It's a big deal.
It's a massive deal.
You know, they try to play it down and go, oh well, if I want to, share the game, then they just have to pay for it. Blah blah blah. That's BS. Like, what the hell? You want to I want to loan a game to you, Minx, and then like, but by the way, you're gonna have to pay £10 before you can actually get it to work on your own system. What?
It's ridiculous. It's the whole. I mean, I don't want to turn this into an Xbox One rant, but I think we both totally agree that so far, everything that's come out of Microsoft's mouth and PR machine has been bullshit.
The thing that makes me... Well, okay, I'll just make one comment about it, which is kind of funny. I said this yesterday, was just look at the amount of jokes that have come out about Xbox compared to PS. I can't even see any jokes about PlayStation anywhere, and yet Xbox is like a tidal wave. You cannot tell me that does not influence public opinion. Exactly. And I tell you something, the other thing that's funny is like they changed the entire unit's design just to avoid the term Red Ring of Death. Now, if they would do that just over one term, what the hell are they going to do now when they've got this tidal wave of bad PR? Like, they're dead in the water. Like, oh man,
I've never seen something screw up so much. And just like, I mean, I did a podcast straight after the PS4 announcement, taking the piss out of it. I mean, I laughed at it, I broke it down in a stupid way and that sort of thing. And, but I couldn't actually do that after the Xbox One cover because I was so genuinely furious, I couldn't even laugh at any aspects of it. Now, I mean, the PS4 announcement wasn't great. I mean, there were some things in there. There were some games at least. And I remember looking at things like Knack and the new game from the Braid creator and thinking, oh, yeah, I'd probably like to play those. But looking at the Xbox One thing, I was just like,
yeah, you see all the E3. It's all about E3, and we're going to find out so much more about
E3. Perfect Dark 2, by the looks of things as well, seems to be on the horizon.
Cool.
Rare! They're such an established company now. They're like,
This is a whole other issue.
Was so awesome. Anyway, let's digital games versus versus sports games.
No, it's just so easy to go on.
Just sidetrack.
I almost wanted to go on to Nintendo there. The fact that they've just died a death, that's a whole other issue. But I mean,
we will talk about this in another video.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But anyway, I was going to say that I don't have a problem with box games existing. I just don't like them anymore. And I know that sounds weird from someone who's grown up.
Because you're a PC player.
It's not necessarily because of that either. Like, I'd rather have all my Nintendo stuff like on my DS SD card rather than on cartridges for those as well. I just feel that in terms of a game, when it comes out, I want to get it immediately. I want to have it down. I mean, I've got a reasonably fast download connection. I want it downloaded in like an hour or two, and I also want to play it. I don't want to go out. I don't want to go out in the sun. Real life stuff. I don't want to go out and go to a store where they might not have it in stock. They might not have it in stock. You might have to go to a different store to find another copy. I know that online I can get the game I want, and when it comes to Steam I can get it for a much better price than I could in the store. And if I don't want to get it straight away, in 4 or 5 months time I'll be able to get it for like £15-20 as opposed to £50,
Yeah.
And that's where the consoles have it wrong. They need to start charging sensible prices for their digital downloads. Nintendo sometimes charge like £60 for a new game on their store, and then you get it for like £40 on Amazon. Like, what the fuck? And it's ridiculous. You need to have sales, you need to have games going down in price on the online store so people are encouraged to buy them. You need to have all these things that Steam does need to be translated across to other formats. And you're worried about competition and things like that. Like, especially with Steam, like there's other websites that do sell Steam keys legitimately for even less than Steam, like Green Man Gaming and things. You could get Tomb Raider for £10, I think, the other week.
I guess I just liked to be able to go in do you know what it is as well? I think that I kind of want the game stores to be as they were, and then like not anymore. I remember like more independent game stores.
Yeah, I remember that too.
Yeah, like in Exeter, they had like several really good old school game stores down one of the high streets there. And this guy, he used to actually have like a load of old retro Japanese stuff in his store as well. And you'd like go in there, and the guys were in there. They were just like playing games whilst they were just they were sitting behind the checkout counter at the top there. But they were just like they had like 3 TVs up on the wall, and they would just sit there playing games. And if someone wanted to buy a game, they're like, yeah, cheers, that'll be how much. all right, thanks, see you later, and just carry on playing games. And it's like, that's a proper game shop, not bloody like HMV or whatever, where you go in and ask. And this actually happened to me the other day. I went in and asked, did you hear or see my Metro Last Light story that I talked about trying to get the game?
You mentioned to me like on Skype the other day that you hadn't you had trouble getting hold of it. What actually happened in HMV? I'm curious now.
Right, okay. I live in London. I went to central London quickly in the morning the other day to get this game because, you know, Metro, I wanted to get it, I wanted to play it. So I went down to Oxford Street, one of the biggest high streets in the UK.
I know what HMV is like there. It's massive.
Yeah. Well, I actually went to go to Game down there because there was like their flagship store down in there. So I went down there and I was like, huh, it's a shop that's now selling Keep Calm and Carry On t-shirts and small red buses. So I was like, okay, Game's just like not here. So I was like, right, okay, I'll go down to HMV then because they're, you know, massive. They're bound to have it. So I went into HMV. It's a huge store, guys. It's over like multiple floors. It's really big. Yeah. Went in there, went up. I was like, it's not on their kind of new releases shelf. All right, I'll go and ask the guys at the counter. You know, maybe it's like they just haven't put it out or whatever, which would be weird. But so I went and asked him, and I was like, oh yeah, Metro Last Light. He's like, Metro what? And I was like, yeah, Metro Last Light. It's quite a big game. You know, it's out today. Like, you know, you should have it in stock. He's like, I don't think we've got that. I don't know anything about it. Click, click, click. Like, looks it up on the computer. Is Metro what again? Metro Last Light, yeah? Okay.
You know, like one of the biggest game release of that week.
This guy, he was like my age. He was not like some guy who clearly shouldn't know. You know, he's like, He's like, oh yeah, we're not getting that in stock right now or ever because we are, you know, we're coming out of administration and a lot of companies don't want to actually give us any stock at the moment. So yeah, we just don't have it. And I was like, oh. Yeah. I said, so where can I get it? He was like, yeah, I don't know. He was like, if you go like down the road to Regent Street and round the corner, there's Hamleys, and he's like, if you go down right into the basement there's like a franchise of game. They might have it. I was like, okay. So I walked off down the road. It was quite a long way. I was like,
yeah, it's quite a long walk.
Yeah, and went down there. Got down to the basement. Oh yeah, there's loads of them. So I was like, oh, finally. But I had to look at another game store as well first. They didn't have it, or they weren't even there either. So there was another game store had gone. So, you know, there's all these problems. And it's just like, it reminds me in the past, HMV had another problem. I went to pick up SSX when that came out, and they just didn't have it, and they couldn't get hold of it. And the reason was that EA didn't have any faith that they were actually going to, like, not fail as a company, so they wouldn't give them stock because they didn't want to lose their stock. Obviously, you don't have that problem with digital. But it just frustrates me, and I feel like, I said on my video, I feel like economic factors are actually killing the real game market more than anything else, you know?
I mean, I was going to say, though, I have lots of fond memories of game stores. I used to, like, finish school and then leg it down to the game store on the high street. Yeah. Not game, but, like, independent store on the high street where I could, you know, when I knew something was out. I remember running down to buy Unreal, like, in the massive boxes the PC versions used to have. I was so excited. I was going to play, like, this amazing graphical game, and I remember, like, rushing down and getting it. I mean, even recently, like when Dragon Age came out, I, like, legged it out of work early and ran all the way to game before it shut at 5:30 and got Dragon Age, and it was like a big deal, you know. I do have some fond memories of game stores, trading my games in for actual reasonable prices at a local store instead of getting ripped off by a big company, and, you know, just browsing through hordes of PC games and hordes of N64 games and things like that, and seeing what was in. Like, you used to, like, find titles you'd never heard of because the internet wasn't around at the time. It's like, wow, what's this?
Yeah.
Box art looks really cool. I'll probably buy it based solely on that, like a fucking idiot.
I've done that so many times.
Everyone, like, I bought New Zealand Story, which I hate with a passion, for the NES because I thought, wow, that box art looks good, and I have never played a game I've hated more than New Zealand Story. Just gonna rant about how bad New Zealand Story is, but a lot of people like it. I found out, like, years later when the internet existed that people like this fucking thing. And I was just like, what? It's one of the biggest cons of my life.
I've been enjoying kind of revisiting sort of retro games, and as I say, when this Retron 5 comes out, I'm hoping it's going to be more viable for actually recording and doing stuff with. You can do emulators, though. This is true for the PC stuff. You can get even gamepads that you can obviously plug in USB, the old school gamepads, and do it like that, which is awesome as well. So, but yeah, there's just something quite nice about actually having the game, and I don't know, maybe I don't actually have any kind of legitimate argument here at all, and it's all just like my love of games.
Nostalgia. Nostalgia is, I think nostalgia is still a valid argument. I understand where you're coming from. I just prefer to have everything instantly on a hard drive. And obviously, people worry like, oh, what if my PC dies? Well, my PC died, and I still could access all my Steam games totally fine on a new PC instantly the next day without having to call them, and it was fine, you know. So, you know, like my PC like literally exploded. I bought a new PC. I logged on, and unlike consoles like Microsoft, where I could only like access like 30 of the games that I'd ever downloaded without calling them or something, I could actually access all my games because that's how digital sales should be. You know, you should be able to access your account anywhere, download the things you want, and they should be permanent. And on PC, because you don't have to worry about this bullshit sort of like architecture changes and stuff, you can just keep getting them. Like I've got games on Steam from like when it first launched. Like I got my Steam with Counter-Strike Source when it was used as like an anti-cheat for that.
I think my kind of feeling is not so much that I hate digital downloads. Like, I don't have any real problem with them. I think I just like having physical games more, personally, and I think a lot of people would as well. You know?
I do think that a lot of people do. And I think a lot of people will disagree with me in the comments on this video.
No, not necessarily. I mean, I actually think that, you know, going into the future, that digital downloads are a good thing. But I think, like, what you say is correct, that, you know, there's a lot of sort of business elements to digital which needs to be aware of. Now, Valve are a very progressive company. They're kind of, you know, they're kind of like for gamers from gamers, really, you know, the guys that set this thing up. And it's like, they understand, so that makes a big difference straight away. Whereas a lot of the companies, they're run by sort of PR, you know, business people watching the numbers. They don't really understand, so they're just like, yeah, we'll put this game up RRP at like £60. That'll be no problem at all. You know, that's what the game's value, so that's what it'll be sold at. And they don't really get it.
Exactly.
And it's the same when it comes to discounting stuff. You know, how I actually was going to do a series for my channel and I never got around to it. I was going to do like, you know, I can't remember what I was going to call it now, but I was basically going to go around and just see what games I could pick up for under £5 and then play them, like, no matter what they were, because there's no greater feeling than going into a store and buying like a second-hand game for a ridiculously small amount of money, and then you're like, I've got a great game for like a few pounds here, and it's just like, some people I know say, oh, I never buy second-hand games because they never work. That's crap. Like,
that is crap.
I've got like one game that didn't work or whatever.
My PS2 and Wii were powered solely by second-hand games.
Yeah, exactly.
Of that, you know, and I mean, well, I don't obviously buy them anymore because I can get the game. I know that if I wait a few months, I can get it on Steam really cheap. I don't have any problem with secondhand games, and I feel they are important. If we're going to have a hard copy-based market, secondhand games should be a key part of that. And I'm afraid, going back to Microsoft, you wankers,
they've done a really stupid thing because they've tried to kind of put in place what, you know, theoretically should be kind of like for all digital, but before we've actually got to that point. So it's kind of like, you've kind of like shot your gun a bit early here, or shot your bolt too early. It's just a damn stupid thing to do. I mean, also, like, I heard that you have to like do a mandatory install. Now, as far as, and then you don't need the disc after that or something.
What's the point in selling it?
Yeah, is that true that you have to do like a full install?
It's every game on the Xbox. It seems this is what I don't know if there's been official, because no one's really saying anything. They're just sort of faffing around their PR system.
I think they're freaking out and panicking. They're like, just don't say anything. Don't even.
The rumours seem to indicate that you need to do a full install of an Xbox One game on the Xbox One before, and then you don't use the disc at all.
It's just like, why
if you go
why
to
even
a friend's
have
house,
this?
they need to pay a code to be able to install it on theirs, or you log into your account on the Xbox, which you shouldn't have to fucking do.
It seems like, I mean,
my language.
well, also you're not going to be able to exchange your hard drive anymore. It used to be like, right now my PS3, I whacked in a whatever 500. Well, I think it came with I can't remember what size. I think it's like 500 gig, which is more than enough for me. It's got to be said. Now I think the Xbox comes with like 500 gig, but I mean, there is this issue that basically you won't be able to upgrade the actual hard drive anymore. So if that did get full, which I could imagine it could potentially, depending on the size of games.
It's going to do all the time. I mean, let's be real. Like a modern game could be 10 gig, and if it's a 500 gig drive, let's say at least 50 gig of that's taken up by the operating system and endless updates to the Kinect and stuff like that. That is a really limited amount of space. Like, you only install like 30, 40 games. And then you've got to think about downloadable games as well that you've got off Xbox Live Arcade or whatnot. It could easily go really quickly.
I mean, my PlayStation for Battlefield 4, just some updates they did for Battlefield 4, like patches. We've had like 3 or 4 major patches, and each of those has been like around 2 gig. It's a massive, and whenever they release a new DLC, they usually, because they need to sort of alter some of the things in the game to make it sort of viable for everyone, they usually do like an update, and then everybody has to install, even if you don't have that DLC anyway, and that can be like a couple of gig as well. So, you know, I mean, Battlefield 4, even though I actually have the physical copy of the game as well, I probably got about like 10 gig of data on there just from updates and stuff like that.
Exactly.
So, you know, it's a lot. I've got to tell you as well, though, this is another point of why I prefer physical copies of games, is that the internet's sort of actual physical architecture in a lot of countries, the sort of infrastructure, is not up to par yet. You know, there is a big problem with this whole digital thing of, yeah, sure, like if you're downloading indie games and kind of smaller titles, the kind of things that makes you enjoy, right? That's great, because often those games are not that big. Or if you're into like retro games, retro games are often comically small. Like Sega Genesis Mega Drive games are often like under like several megabytes. They're tiny. It's hilarious. Like, it's so funny. But I mean, modern games are big because of everything they have on them.
5 to 10 gig, I'd say, for a modern game, easy.
Yeah,
usually.
And it's like, a lot of people cannot hack that. Now, I had a load of problems with my ISP recently, and in the process, I got to hear back from a lot of my subscribers about the kind of internet connections they have. Now, the thing is, we live in the UK, and obviously the US, both these markets very huge, Japan as well, very massive market, but all of these countries have a very well-established sort of internet structure.
And many countries don't. I will say that I will concede on this point, to be fair. I will say that...
But even in these countries, a lot of people don't.
Oh,
I mean,
exactly.
it tends to be just
gone down for weeks on end before.
Yeah.
You know, and I do totally concede that there does need to be a physical presence still. I'm not saying abolish hard game sales. I'm saying I personally prefer digital sales because I'm lucky enough to be able to access them easily. But I must concede that, for the sake of countries that don't have a good infrastructure, and for the sake of people who don't have access to internet, because not everyone in the world does, and you can't just abandon these people because they like games just as much as us, you know what I mean? And don't
you feel like as well that if you push the digital side so much more, and we go like, oh yeah, it's great for XYZ reasons, blah blah blah, it like we're already seeing for economic factors, it can kill off the hard sales and then almost like unintentionally end up killing that whole side of things. You know, that's my kind of concern, man.
I don't think it would. I think there's still too much of just. I still feel at the moment there's too many sales coming from people who do need to buy hard copies for the companies to ignore that, and I feel that they would be idiots to completely ignore that side of things.
Yeah, because they wouldn't make like a stupid choice, would they? You know, game companies wouldn't make like a really stupid choice that would piss everyone off. They wouldn't do that, would they? If
they make that stupid choice, there will be someone to come along and pick up the pieces and undo that stupid choice, if you know what I mean. Like, I'm hoping Sony will do this time round over Microsoft's. I'm hoping Sony is paying attention to all this shit and being like, oh, well, if we were planning on doing that, we better not plan on doing it now, because if we did, we'd be total dickheads to do it.
Well, you know, I got to say, I do think that we often feel like they don't listen to us at all, a lot of different areas of gaming, but...
Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say though, but I was just going to say, look at EA and how they decided to turn around their always online policy. That was a quite good thing to listen to.
No, it wasn't. Because the reason they turned it around is because they knew the fucking Xbox was going to be always online anyway. So they're like, look at us, we're amazing, we're beautiful people, we listen to you guys. Secretly knowing
that's not it. No.
We're going to fuck everyone over.
No, that's not it. No, they listen to us. They care. They care about their gamers. They care. That's not it. I won't have it. No. They're just...
Anyway. Digital sales, the things that need to happen, okay? They need to be... Digital sales for consoles need to be completely refined. They need to be a cheaper RRP when they first come out. There needs to be regular sales so it can mimic things like Steam. If they want to compete with the PC, that's what they have to do. They also need to have account tie-ins to everything. So your account to the PlayStation 4, if there is a PlayStation 5, everything you downloaded on the PlayStation 4 carries over to the PlayStation 5 account as the digital download that you purchased. That should be part of the infrastructure. It should be something you plan for, and it's vitally important. Okay, there might be exceptions, but let's say, you know, let's say you have a PlayStation 3, yeah, and you bought a bunch of games on it, okay, on the PSN network. PlayStation 4 comes out, you should have the same login you have for your PlayStation 3 on the PlayStation 4, and when those games do eventually get released on the PlayStation 4 store, they should be free for you. Simple as that. Simple as that.
Also, I think like if you buy a title, and you can kind of do this now. Like when I bought Tomb Raider, you can go onto Square Enix and you can kind of register your game.
Yeah,
now,
Nintendo games because you get free stuff and stuff.
Yeah. But I was going to say, once you've registered, they should basically, you have to put in your code that comes with the game. So they should register. You have it. So, and when it goes onto a next system or whatever, and it doesn't necessarily support those titles, like you say, I think every game should come with a registration, not a registration to play in terms of it locks you in, but just a registration to say, I have bought this game. Every disc and so on can have a code. It's no big deal. They should have been doing this for ages ago. So this should not be a new thing. This should already be in place, but it's obviously not.
The only people who do this are Nintendo. They're the only people who do that at the moment.
Yeah, and
it's recent for them as well.
It's not rocket science. You just give a single code with each game release, which a lot of games do anyway for extra stuff. You register your game, and then from there on in the future, I'm not saying don't purchase it again, although I know you would advocate that, but I'm just saying more like, okay, if you have to download it again or whatever, well, just charge them like a few pounds or something. I mean, it'd be better if it'd be free, but I'm just saying at least do something to kind of, don't make them pay full price, because that's just taking the piss.
I'm not adverse to buying things again. Certain PC games I bought multiple times, like because I lost my discs and things like that, or because they weren't compatible with newer versions of Windows and someone released a download copy for like $3 or $4 that was compatible, and that's fine. And I don't have a problem with that, but, I feel that on consoles there is less of an excuse for that kind of thing, as it were.
You do also get funny people like me who have like multiple copies of one game just because I like having the hard copy, like like Final Fantasy VII, because it's such a hard, a classic game. I had my original copy when it came out, and then I was like looking back through it, and I was like, some of this is not quite as mint as I would like. I'm going to buy like a brand new copy just so I can keep it as a copy.
There's not many games. In fact, to be fair,
no, it's not many games that you would do that
I basically sold every hard copy of games I had recently, so I don't really have any hard copies of games. I have Xbox 360 games.
Sold
that
all
I
your hard copies.
I sold a bunch of PS2 games and a bunch of Nintendo, SNES, N64 games.
Minus one respect.
Needed the money. Anyway,
I don't get the whole thing as well. So last point, I don't get the thing of people trading games in. Like when you buy a game, it's your game. Don't sell it. It's your game.
Oh, I sell games all the time.
No,
well, I don't sell them all the time, but when I've had to, I have. Or
people, I completed the single player and took it back to the shop. What? It's like if it's good, you might want to play it again. I guess this is something that's personal for me. I often won't ever play a game again. Once I finish the game, the chances of me playing it again, unless it's absolutely amazing, are very slim. I just like to be in control. I like that. I like to know they're there. They're like my games are there, and like if I'm like, hey, I'm gonna enjoy you today. Come on, let's play. No, I'm not just they're my game collection. I can open my drawer and it's all there. I can see it. That's the thing. I don't want to sound like my dad and be like, oh, look at all my records and like it's kind of...
You're getting there.
I know it's good. I know it is a way, and then kind of think like, I'm starting to be like an old gamer now, which is really, really bad. But no, I love digital downloads, but I do love having games. I just like having them there, and I'm kind of interested to hear what other people think. I think that's going to be the biggest deal here. I think it'd be a good debate for people to have. I want to hear from you guys what you think, what's going to be the best thing. Please tell Minx that she's wrong, because all this cold, hard digital data, it's just numbers, and you can't see the game. It's just, come on, that's what it's all about, guys, right? Like the love of games. That's what it's all about.
I'd like to point out that I do sometimes like having hard copies. Like I got a 3DS back in December, and I've got a bunch of games for that. I wouldn't dream of selling the games I've got for that. I've got a bunch of new DS and 3DS games, and I like having the hard copies, I guess. I mean, it's just because it's the easiest way to get them, because the Nintendo store is so crap.
just to kind of reverse this around, mobile gaming in terms, I don't mean mobile phones, I mean like PSP, DS, whatever, but I suppose also phones. It's the one area where digital is all about, because you don't want to be lugging around like loads of cartridges. It's a massive pain in the ass. My Game Boy Advance, I didn't have anywhere to put all my goddamn cartridges. I've got like 20 games here, but I can't take them all with me. It's so annoying.
When I went to London recently, I took 10 3DS games with me, and it was quite a lug.
Yeah, exactly.
And sort of like grappling with them on the train, sort of like trying to find the right box and stuff. So yeah, I don't get me wrong. I don't mind having the hard copies of the 3DS games because I do have quite a lot of DS and 3DS games. I have quite a large amount of them. But at the same time, part of me wishes that they were easily accessible on the 3DS store, not for ridiculous amounts of money. That's what I wish. Digital sales are awesome. You should get a Steam account right now. I'll check my check from Valve later on. See you later, guys.
Thanks for... Okay, we're going to finish it off, guys. Please put your comments below. I hope you've enjoyed this episode again. We'll be back very soon with another episode of Agreed or Disagree. Thanks for watching. See you next time, guys. Bye-bye.